We have present Councillor Buchanan. I have apologies for Councillor Donnelly, but I can see that Councillor Toner has joined as a substitute. Also present today are Councillors Fulton and Gowland. Councillor Handybod? I'm not seeing you present. Also present today are Councillors Johnson Dempsey and Kerr. Councillor Lockhart? I'm not seeing you present. Also present today is Councillor McDougall. Also in attendance is Councillor Fagan. We have a number of officers present, as well as the Acting Deputy Chief Executive, and with that I'll pass you back to the Chair to commence today's business. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Elizabeth Ann. So moving on to item 1, declaration of interest. Do we have any declarations? I'm not seeing any, so I'll assume none. Noted. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. So I would like to move the minutes of the 26th of March as a correct record. Do I have a seconder, please? Cal?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Thanks, Cal. And moving on to the items for decision, of which there are 2. So we have, first of all, the Internal Audit Annual Assurance Report 2023 to 24. And I'd like to ask Yvonne Douglas, our Audit and Compliance Manager, to speak to that, please. And that's pages 11 to 26 in your pack.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to report on the progress and performance of internal audit in 23-24, and key to that is then to provide an internal audit opinion for the year ended 31st of March 24. In terms of background, the report starts by setting out the internal audit's functions, compliance with the public sector internal audit standards in the year, and the committee will remember that the level of compliance with these standards was independently assessed and reported during 23-24. There were some minor areas of non-compliance. These were addressed by an action plan, and an update in relation to progress with implementing actions is attached to Appendix 1. That's on pages 22 and 23 of your pack. The report then goes on to talk about workload and performance of the function in 23-24. By way of reminder, this started with the audit plan that was approved by the committee in March 2023 that set out a programme of work for 23-24, and this section of the report gives you an update in terms of our performance in delivering that plan of work. So you'll note that we say that 92% of planned audit days were delivered and 94% of the plan was delivered in terms of the number of audit assignments. That's set out in table 5.1 on page 13. There's fuller explanations of performance targets set out on Appendix 2 in page 24, and that supports a successful delivery of the 23-24 audit plan. Now, the output from this plan of work that's completed allows an audit opinion to be expressed, and that's set out within section 6 of the report. Now, you'll note this section is structured in the same way as the audit opinion itself, so it's structured across 3 headings: governance, risk management and internal controls. So the first of these is governance, and that's set out in pages 13 and 14. The main areas of work under this heading related to work around preparation of the Council's annual governance statement, follow-up of delivery of audit actions, and a review of output from external audit. You'll note the output that's detailed within the report, and there aren't any significant issues to draw your attention to. The second area relates to risk management, that's set out in pages 14 to 16. Main areas of work in this area were further analysis of top risk controls, a review of progress with mitigating risks around top risks, cyber security and sustainability, and an update in relation to fraud risk registers. Again, no significant issues to bring your attention to. The final area in this section relates to internal controls, and work in this area is set out in pages 16 through to 19. The main areas that we covered were the audit resources that was used to support implementation of Oracle Fusion in 23-24, the audit assignments that we completed looking at processes that ensured effective governance of pupil equity funding, and also the systems in place around the administration of ASN transport, and anti-fraud work that included distributing fraud alerts in the year and the delivery of the NFI exercise. In relation to the NFI exercise, there will be a separate and fuller report that will come to a future meeting of the committee. Again, outputs are detailed within the report and there aren't any significant issues to draw your attention to. Now, all those areas of work are taken into consideration and expressed by way of a formal audit opinion in section 7 of the report, and that's in page 19 at 7.4. And if I can just take the opportunity to read that to the committee at this point in time. The internal audit opinion for 23-24 is the overall reasonable assurance can be placed on the adequacy and effectiveness of the Council's framework of governance, risk management and control arrangements. I'd like to highlight to the committee that this is a positive audit opinion and one that's unchanged from the previous year. The report then concludes with a brief forward look into future years, recognising the significant new system implementation in 24-25 and in the years beyond, and also recognising that there will be new public sector internal audit standards that we will be required to implement from 2025 onwards, and there will be some work around that we'll report to the committee during 24-25. That concludes the report, so if I can just take you to the recommendations that are on page 11 at 2.1. It's firstly that internal audit's performance is noted. Secondly, the overall findings from internal audit work be noted and that these inform the Council's 23-24 governance statement. And lastly, that the level of assurance be noted. Thank you, Chair, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Yvonne, and thanks to note that. Thanks to your team for the continued excellent performance. Do we have any questions? No questions for you, Yvonne, today. So thank you very much.
The report,
So I will propose that we approve the report, and can we have a seconder, please?
Yep, happy to second, Chair.
Thanks, Cal. Thank you. Okay, so thanks, Yvonne, for that. Moving on to item 4 on the agenda, the annual governance statement for 23-24 and significant governance areas quarter 4 progress report. And that's on pages 27 to 60 of your pack. And can I ask Ian Strachan to speak to this report, please? Ian?
Afternoon. Thank you, Chair. So yes, the purpose of this report is to provide the proposed annual governance statement for the financial year 2023-24 for inclusion in the annual accounts following the committee's consideration and approval. We also provide an update on progress against significant governance areas that were identified in the previous annual governance statement. As the committee will be aware, the Council undertakes a comprehensive review of its governance arrangements each year that are required to support the Council's financial and operational controls, and that informs the annual governance statement that is included within the annual accounts. Through the cross-service good governance group, we undertake an annual review of these governance arrangements, and at the end of that, complete an evaluation process. So there's probably 2 items essentially in terms of this report. Firstly, the annual governance statement for 23-24 is included at Appendix 2 to this report. Some more minor updates and following on from last year's to reflect some changes. We've still included information around COVID-19 pandemic governance arrangements, but they would be removed for next year. I would highlight that the internal assurance opinions are included in section 6 of the governance statement. Yvonne has already outlined the internal audit opinion. Separately, the Council's risk management service has opined that a good level of assurance can be placed on the Council's strategic risk control environment, and a good level of assurance can be placed on the Council's operational risk control environment. In the usual way, in section 7 of the annual governance statement, we highlight significant governance areas that were identified through horizon scanning process and the director's statements of assurance and the key actions that are being taken to address these during 24-25. In terms of those, the committee will note that a number are carried over from last financial year with some updates, but we've included new items there around digital modernisation in terms of the implementation of new digital solutions that will support wider transformation of the Council. homelessness in terms of the pressures there previously reported to council committees, and also an entry around South Lanarkshire leisure and culture for the council working in partnership with it to develop the relationship, in particular around commissioning, use of assets and financial sustainability. Secondly, we also include the Q4 update on the progress of significant governance areas, as I mentioned earlier, that were highlighted in the previous annual governance statement. Those are included in Appendix 3. So going back to the recommendations, what committee has asked today is to approve the annual governance statement attached to Appendix 2 to be included in the Council's 23-24 annual report and statement of accounts, and also that the committee notes the progress against significant governance areas identified within the previous year's annual governance statement. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Ian. Do we have any questions for Ian on that report? No questions today. Everyone's very quiet. Okay, so I'll ask for the report to be approved.
Seconded, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Dempsey. Okay, and thanks, Ian. Again, an enormous amount of work goes into these reports, so thank you very much. Okay, moving on to items for noting. So we've got item 5, unaudited annual accounts 23-24. And I'll ask Lorraine O'Hagan to speak to the unaudited accounts, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. So agenda item 5 then looks for members to consider the unaudited annual accounts for financial year 23-24, the report starting on page 61. So section 3 then provides a bit of background and explains that we're statutorily obliged to submit the unaudited accounts to external audit by the 30th of June. And we're looking to members to consider the accounts by the end of August. Good practice and the terms of reference for the RASC itself agrees that we will formally ask members to consider them before we submit them to external audit at the end of June. So that's why we're bringing them along today. Section 4 of your report then details the format of the accounts and notes that they're included in Appendix 1 for your consideration. It also notes a few of the main statements, including the balance sheet and the income expenditure statement, and also the annual governance statement, which Ian's just talked you through. These accounts will be available for public inspection on the 1st to the 22nd of July, and we would look to issue a copy of the accounts to all members before the end of this week. The audit takes place across the summer months, and the unaudited accounts will remain on the website until the audited version is ready, and we expect that to be September time. Section 4.6 onwards explains that the year-end report to members shows an additional underspend of £128,000, and that's the report that's going to Executive Committee tomorrow, and that's compared to where we were sitting at the probable outturn. It also proposes a number of other transfers to reserves, along with the year-end underspend being taken to reserves to allow us to reflect a balanced position at the end of the financial year. So the accounts that I'm proposing to you today takes account of those transfers to reserves, and obviously if there's anything not approved at committee, then the accounts may require to be amended. The year-end reported position and the accounts do look different. They are in different formats, but it's presentation only. It is the same information. In order to try and illustrate that for you, we've got a table in Appendix 2, which takes you from the monitoring report at the left-hand side and moves along a table, making presentational changes by and large and adjusting for some accounting transactions that we have to present at the end of the year for things like pensions and capital charges. These don't affect the Council's outturn position at all. It's about presentation, and moving along the table in Appendix 2 takes you to the presentation and the annual accounts. Section 5 of the report comments on the charitable accounts, which are included in Appendix 3 for your information, and again we're asking that you consider them before they're submitted to external audit at the end of the week. And again, we will issue these out to elected members. And similarly, they'll be online for public inspection from the 1st to the 21st of July. So if I can refer you back to the recommendations then in Section 2 and ask that you note the accounts presented for your consideration and that they're submitted to external audit by the 30th of June. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorraine, do we have any questions on the unaudited accounts? No questions again. Okay, thank you very much. I will, in that case, ask the committee to note the recommendation that the unaudited accounts are submitted to Audit Scotland by 30th of June. Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Fagan and Prof Singh Gupta, you can leave now if you wish. You've got other matters to attend to, no doubt. Thank you. Okay, so we're rattling through this today. Item 6, workforce innovation. How councils are responding to workforce challenges. I'm going to ask Mark Ferris, our senior audit manager, to speak to this report. Please, Mark.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll take the report as read, but I just wanted to provide some context on why we've undertaken this work and the key messages within the report. Our best value work is now integrated into our annual financial work. In 23-24, as well as assessing progress against best value improvement actions from previous years, we undertake an annual best value thematic review. Our best value thematic work changes annually, recognising the risks and challenges councils face. Each year, the thematic work is carried out in individual councils and will inform a national report. The Accounts Commission agreed the focus for best value thematic work in 23-24 should cover how councils are responding to local government workforce challenges through building capacity, increasing productivity and innovation. The work focused on 6 areas: how effectively councils' workforce plans are integrated within its strategic plans and priorities, how effectively digital technology has been used to support workforce productivity and improve service quality and outcomes, how effectively the council is using hybrid and remote working and other innovative working practice to achieve service and staff benefits, what innovative practice the council is using to develop its future workforce capacity and skills needs and manage staff reductions in line with its priorities, what progress the council has made with sharing roles or functions across its service and or other councils and partners, and finally, how effectively the council is measuring the impact of its workforce planning approach. To inform this work, we undertook the following: a review of relevant information already available within the public domain. We requested and reviewed additional information that was provided by the council, and we met with relevant officers from the council and other interested parties. In terms of the report itself, we have set out the key messages on page 4, which I believe is 218 on your pack, which summarise the detail contained in each section within the report. I don't intend to go through in detail, but I'll draw the attention to the following. We recognise the Council's Workforce Plan 22-25 is supported by detailed service level plans. However, there is an opportunity for this to have a more strategic focus. There is an opportunity for the Council to develop a corporate level workforce strategy to demonstrate a clear link to the Connect Council Plan 22-27. In addition, the Council has an opportunity to build on the workforce planning to date and implement a more strategic, data-driven approach to workforce planning with smart action plans setting out how council level and service level actions have been progressed. We're pleased to note that the council has a comprehensive workforce planning toolkit for services to use and is designed to assist services in identifying supply and demand issues and consider the emerging objectives and actions within their individual areas. The Digital Strategy 22-27 sets out an intention to address digital exclusion. However, around 10% of employees who responded to a digital skills survey identified that they do not have the basic digital literacy. The Council has confirmed that it's progressing a number of initiatives to support digital inclusion going forward. The Council recognises the need for innovative skills and capacity measures in light of the workforce recruitment and retention challenges it faces, and already uses a number of approaches to improve the skills and capacity of its future and existing workforce. In addition to the key messages, I would draw your attention to Appendix 1 of the report, which is on pages 237 to 238 of your pack, and that includes an improvement action plan. This outlines findings coming from our work, what we believe are the potential risks, and our recommendations to address this. These have been discussed and agreed with management, and you will see that management have provided a response on how these will be taken forward and the timescales from implementation. That covers all the areas I wanted to cover today, Chair, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Jackie, Michelle and other officers who helped support the audit during the course of this review. More than happy for myself or Amanda to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to see the positive responses to the recommendations as well for the Council to move forward with these key messages. And again, thank you to everyone who's been involved in this. Another substantial piece of work. Do we have any questions on this today? No questions on this either? Sorry, I think everyone's been watching the Euros or doing something anyway. Okay, I've read the materials though, so thank you very much, and it is much appreciated. Okay, so just to move the report, and I need a seconder.
Yes, just to thank Mark for the report and to second it.
Thanks, Cal. Okay, so moving on to item 7, internal audit activity. So this is the more recent report as at the 31st of May. And again, Yvonne to speak to this report and bring us up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, this provides an update in relation to internal audit activity, starting from the 9th of March through to the 31st of May. This represents the first report in relation to the 24-25 internal audit plan, and I'm pleased to report that we have 42% of the plan already in progress, which is one of the kind of key areas of focus for us this year, is to progress the plan quicker at the start of the year and to bring the reports to committee as the year progresses. Appendix 1 lists all assignments completed in the period. You'll note that 2 have been deferred, and that was to release further resources to assist with the implementation of Fusion. There is a commitment to come back and revisit those areas when resources are available. Of the assignments that concluded, 1 was in relation to a position statement in the Council's top risk sustainability. A copy of the key messages from that assignment is attached to Appendix 3 for the committee's attention. The summary recognises that there are challenges in mitigating the risk, but notes the positive steps being taken, such as devising of an energy demand reduction plan and route maps, as well as some of the practical changes around sustainability requirements attached to, for example, new building warrants from 2024. I think the position statement sets out a balanced set of information around both the challenges and the progress that has been made, and we're noting that there's a 5-year action plan in place to continue to drive progress. If I just return to the report briefly then, Section 5 provides an update on reports that have been issued in relation to the Glasgow City Region City Deal. Again, the committee will be familiar with us bringing periodic updates in relation to this, and within the report there's a link to committee papers if anybody wants to read the report in more detail. No significant issues were reported and to bring to your particular attention. The final section of the report covers the report from the Chief Auditors Group. This is an annual report that's produced, and as has been in the practice in previous years, we bring a copy of this to our own audit committee, and this is attached at Appendix 2 for your information. So in terms of recommendations within this report, they are at 2.1, and it is that progress is noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Yvonne. Sounds like good progress being made at an early stage. Do we have any questions for Yvonne? No questions again, Yvonne. Okay, so I'll move the report. Can I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to item 8, our Audit Scotland Financial Bulletin 22-23 on pages 261 to 266 of your pack. And can I ask Lorraine again to speak to this, please?
Thank you, Chair. So you may be aware Audit Scotland publish 2 what I would call overview reports each year, one focusing on performance and the other on financial matters. And this report's based on the Audit Scotland report on financial matters, the Financial Bulletin. In Section 3, we've got a link there to a copy of the bulletin for your information. The Audit Scotland report itself is divided into 2 parts. Part 1 is funding and outturn, and Part 2 is Council's financial position and outlook. The key messages from each of the 2 parts are outlined in Sections 4 and 5 of this report, and then we'll come on to look at any specific mentions of South Lanarkshire Council in Section 6. So in terms of Section 4 then, it's initially looking at funding and outturn, It provides a national view on each area, including revenue and income, council budget setting and outturn, and the reporting of these outturn positions. So we've bulleted them across that section for your information, and the sections in italics are really where it's appropriate. We've included a council position, if you like, for members' information. Section 5 then goes on to look at Council's financial position and outlook, so again a national position in terms of a number of areas, including the 22-23 position, Scottish Government funding and financial sustainability. And I suppose at this point I should say that this report is quite old and it is based on 2022-23, so we've dealt with a lot of the matters that are in here, or we've managed budgets, we've set the budgets, and we've been able to move forward to the next financial year, and in fact the one after that into 24-25. So this is really just for your information and your background. Probably worth noting in the second last bullet of section D, we've made a comment there about financial resilience and sustainability, and we've picked that up in our medium-term financial strategy, but we will look to come back to the forum, the Risk and Audit Scrutiny Committee later this year with a fuller position on that. Section 6 then, as I said, is where we have had specific reference to South Lanarkshire Council in the report itself. So section 6.2 notes the budget gap as a percentage of our overall budget, and we were 5th highest at that point in time. But as I mentioned a second or two ago, this is old data, and subsequently we've set the budget for 22-23 on a balanced basis, and then we've gone on and managed our budget throughout that year in terms of financial outturn. In terms of savings achieved compared to target, we're noting there in section 6.3 that the Council achieved 89% of its targeted savings in year, and that was really due to timing only. And any shortfall that we had in savings in 22-23 was managed by resources in year and be outturned and underspent in year. The final bullet then, or point then in section 6.4, is the level of usable reserves as a proportion of net revenue expenditure, again for that financial year. For the Council, we were 19 out of 30 councils, and that's again a statement of fact, the Council sitting lower than the Scotland national total of 27%. So if I can take you back to the recommendations in section 2 and just ask that the key messages and recommendations of the Audit Scotland report are noted, and that the specific commentary on the Council's position, as we've noted in section 6, is also noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Do we have any questions for Lorraine on this? No questions today? Okay, so can I ask in that case the committee approves the recommendations in the report in section 2, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Cal. Thanks, Lorraine. So, moving on to item 9 on the agenda, Financial Resources Scrutiny Forum Activity. And again, back to Lorraine to speak to this on page 267 to 270 of your report.
Thanks, Chair. So item 9 then looks to fulfil the requirement to report on the Financial Resources Scrutiny Forum activity to this committee. Section 4 explains the time frame then, covering the period from August 2023 to March 2024. And it also notes that the August 2023 meeting was presented with the old year report for 22-23 and the first report of the new financial year 23-24 at that point. Appendix 1 details the items covered in each of the meetings. They are fairly regular and formulaic, and they fall off the back of the summarised reports that go to Executive Committee. And obviously the Scrutiny Forum get a lot more detail that sits behind that and gives them the opportunity to ask questions and scrutinise information. So if I can take you back to the recommendations in section 2, the summary of reports considered by the Financial Resources Scrutiny Forum for the period August 23 to March 24, as detailed in Appendix 1, be noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions on that one? No questions today. Okay, thank you very much, Lorraine. And can I ask the committee to approve the recommendations in section 2, please? And
Again, happy second.
okay, thank you, Cal. And that brings us on to the forward programme for future meetings. Can I ask Elizabeth Ann to speak to that on pages 271 to 274 of your pack?
Thank you, Chair. This is a standard agenda item for this committee, and the background is set out at paragraph 3.1 of the report on page 271 of your pack. The purpose of the report is to advise members of the forward programme for the committee, and in the case of this report, meetings are detailed up to the 25th of June 2025. This is detailed in the appendix on pages 273 to 274 of the pack. Members are also invited to suggest topics for inclusion in the committee's forward programme. And if I could take the committee back to the recommendation at paragraph 2.1, where the committee is being asked to note the forward programme up to the 25th of June 2025. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Elizabeth Ann. Any questions on the programme? Okay, so I'll ask the committee to approve the report and look for a seconder again.
Seconded.
Thank you. And there is no urgent business, so thanks everyone for your time today, and thanks for all the work that's gone into preparing and all the reports you've spoken to today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.